Hey, welcome everybody. How are you today? My name is Hannah Morgan and I am the Career Sherpa. So welcome to our Job Search Live Monday. How is everybody today? Good? If you are here watching me, there's always a little bit of a lag. So I'd love to see in the comments if you are here. I would love to know. What I'm going to be talking about today has to do with yesterday's Summary Sunday, which was called the Ever-Evolving Job Search. And I'm going to put it right here in the comments so that you can follow along if you haven't already read it. What I love doing is sharing these articles every week because I think they, well, first of all, I share them because they're the most popular articles that I share. And second of all, I like sharing them because I think they sort of capture the moment, like what we're dealing with at this particular point in time with the job search. And so for those of you who've been looking for a job for a while now, you know that it's getting tough. It's hard to stay motivated, and we can all use some friendly reminders. So that is sort of what we are covering in today's Summary Sunday. So if you are here and watching, let me know. I'd love to hear from you. So one of the things that I know about job search, because I've been doing this for a little bit, is that while essentially the process is the same, you're looking for a job, employers have a job, and somehow you meet up, like the intricacies and the things that you have to do to get on the employer's radar or to get yourself noticed have changed. And even the process, as we've seen through the pandemic, has changed. So it is ever evolving. The tricks and tactics that you used before the pandemic, because it was a different labor market, jobs were fewer and far between, and there weren't as many people looking. Are different than what you'd have to do now when there are still few jobs. They don't look to be like they're a perfect match, or there are a lot of other job seekers looking for the same kind of work you are. So that's what the summary is about, sort of the subtle nuances of how job search has changed. Aline, good to see you. Nigel, good to see you. Colleen, great to see you too. Thank you all for being here. One of the things that, if you've been job searching for 1 or 2 or 3 months, now is a really good time as we head into January, where hiring tends to heat up a little bit more. Now is a really good time for you to do some self-reflection and self-assessment on what you're doing in your job search and its work, and is it working? So I had posed some questions, and I think they're worth repeating. Do you have a strong resume and LinkedIn profile? What do I mean by strong, and how do you even measure that? So if you have been using the same resume to apply for job after job after job, and your phone is not ringing off the hook, that means your resume needs another look. There is something that's not happening on your resume that should be happening. Likewise, if you have a LinkedIn profile and you're not getting a recruiter reaching out to you, or you're not seeing more views of your profile, more people aren't viewing your profile, that means that what's in your profile isn't enticing and needs to be amped up. So both of those pieces need an expert to help you with a strong resume and a LinkedIn profile. Those can be the same person, but sometimes they're different. You can try and do either one on your own. Have you customized your cover letter for every job that you're applying to? If you have not, if you're just sending out the same boilerplate or generic cover letter, hey, I'm interested in this job, here are my qualifications, give me a call if you're interested, that's not going to cut the mustard. There are too many people who really have taken the time to research the company and are interested and have told the employer exactly why they're interested in that job with that company. So if you're not getting responses to your application, it could be because your cover letter stinks. Do you follow up after you apply? If you're not following up, you don't know what ever happened to your resume. You don't know if anyone ever got it. You don't know if they were not able to contact you because they couldn't read your email address or couldn't find your phone number. You don't know what's happening. So if you're not following up after every job you apply to, the recruiter is probably just going to assume you're not interested, and they're going to move on and find somebody who is more interested. So that's that. With every job that you've applied to, have you tried to find somebody who works inside that company? If you don't spend 1, 5, 2, 3, 4 hours trying to find somebody who works inside that company, you're missing out, because we know that people who are referred for a job are interviewed, like, I don't remember the percentage, but like 35 to 60% more often than those people who don't come referred. So you really want to make sure that you are getting that referral. You'll at least take some time to try and get the referral before you apply. If you go a whole couple of days and still can't find a referral, then go ahead and apply online, but try and get the referral first. Do you spend enough time having conversations with people, or are you spending all of your time applying for jobs online? If you're still applying for jobs online and that's the bulk of where your time is being spent, stop it right now. Stop applying for jobs. I want you to have more conversations with people who work inside companies where you want to work. You probably know some of those people. They're your past colleagues, your coworkers. Reach out to those people and ask them for an introduction and who else they recommend you speak with to give you more information on what it's like to work for that company, what the hottest trends are they're seeing right now in their occupation. Those are the conversations that I want you to have. What are the best websites that you can go to get that kind of training? What associations do they belong to? What training, or what online events are they going to stay current? If you're having those conversations with people, you're learning. And if you're learning, you're going to be better off. Do you practice your interviewing skills? You can't just like jump on a video call and expect to really be good. You have to know exactly what you want to say, the message you want to convey, and you want to come across as poised and confident, not a nervous wreck, right? Are you really focused on pursuing companies that you want to work for? There are a lot of companies out there, and you're not going to be a good match for all of them. So if you do some of the legwork up front and identify companies that you really want to work for, won't that energize you? Won't that make you want to work harder to find somebody inside the company that you can possibly talk with? And finally, are you keeping a weekly schedule? This is really hard stuff. To manage a business, to manage your job search are very similar. And I have found that if I don't keep a daily, weekly calendar, a schedule with blocks of time of what I'm going to be doing each hour of the day, I'm not doing it. I'll blow it off. I'll get sidetracked, or I'll dive deep into something else that I would rather work on, and I won't do all the things that I need to do. So take it from me, block your time. I'll say that till the day I die. So in this week's summary, there were 5-6 articles that I thought were really helpful. One was a massive list of 100 articles for those that are ready to make a career change, either changing careers or changing jobs. And that was by Flex Jobs. So if you didn't read that article, I would definitely recommend that you go back and bookmark that. You're not going to read every article that all of the 100 they list, but I guarantee you that there are going to be some helpful articles in there that are going to help you overcome whatever obstacle or challenge that you are facing as you think about either changing jobs or changing careers. So please go read that Flex Jobs article with 100 articles for you to use to help you change jobs more successfully. That'll be a great resource for you. So before I go on into my next one, I am just going to go check the comments here. Nigel has said that I confess that customizing my CV is harder for me. And I absolutely get that. It is hard, but it's a skill that you can get better at. And that's what I know. And I used to tell people all the time, I'm not a great resume writer. I'm a great job posting reader. And that's what I want you to become really good at doing. Reading between the lines of the job posting, being able to look at that job posting, highlight the key terminology they're looking for, and make sure that you've got a specific example on your resume that addresses exactly how you've done what they're looking for. So let me just take a really basic one. Oftentimes, this is like the worst example, but then the job description may say, must be able to communicate with a board level positions or the board of directors. So you may not have actually communicated with the board of directors, but you communicated with the C-suite in your company. You had to give a presentation. You better make sure that on your resume, you have a bullet that speaks to the fact that you presented to the CEOs of what it was you presented to X number of C-level executives within your organization to convince them that, whatever you were trying to convince them of. So what did you do and what was the outcome, right? I prepared a presentation for the executive board, the executive suite, to help them understand how they could, and as a result, they made the change. So those are some of the things that I hope, Nigel, will make it easier. I really find that going through the job posting with the old-fashioned highlighter, even online, a highlighter, highlight the keywords and then make sure those exact phrases are addressed somewhere on your resume. So Nigel, you also asked, do you think an introduction from someone who, in effect, may be a complete stranger has weight? Well, so here is the thing. I don't think it has that much weight. What I think is that if you have because the point of your conversation with a complete stranger is, tell me what it is you like about working here. How did you get your foot in the door? What are the skills you see your company is really, putting a heavy emphasis on? And during that conversation, I'm believing that you would have gotten a good rapport with that individual. And then one of your questions, and this can't be done through email, oh, by the way, because you can't build rapport through email. So at the end of the conversation, the person will say, well, great, keep in touch, or I was happy to answer your questions. Is there anything else I can help you with today? There's going to be some sort of cue at the end of the conversation. And you can say, I've got one more favor to ask. I happen to notice there was a job available on your website. What do you know about it? Right? And see what they say. That is then their opportunity. If they feel like the rapport has been established and they feel like they can trust you just a little bit, they'll give you more information. They may even give you the name of the person that you should speak with, or they won't give you anything. But at least you've started that conversation. If they don't give you anything, that's a sign that they don't feel like they trust you. Or they don't understand how important a referral is. It's one of the two things. You could ask the question, hey, do you know if your company offers referral bonuses to people who refer people for jobs? It is, there was a study I recently saw that said most job seekers are not aware, most company employees are not aware that their company offers a referral bonus. So by asking that question, you're then saying, hey, you might be making money on this if you refer me and I get the job. So there's some subtle things that I think you can do without flat out asking, hey, can you refer me for this job? To say that right out of the gate is really going to be a turnoff and give you a bad reputation of a taker. So definitely ask more questions first. And I hope that helped answer your question. And so thank you, Nigel, for asking that question. If anybody else has any questions, whether it's related to what we're talking about or not, put them in the chat, because then I can answer them. If I don't know what your question is, I can't answer them. The next article was written by Jeff Lipschultz. He's a recruiter and he writes for jobhunt.org. And if you are not familiar, if you don't subscribe to jobhunt.org, I highly, highly, highly recommend you do that. It's got a wonderful collection of articles. Full disclosure, I do some writing for them, but I was a fan of Susan Joyce and her website long before I ever started writing for it. It's top-notch stuff written by real experts. So anyway, his article, 5 Keys to Successfully Working with Recruiters During Your Job During the Pandemic, talked about some really interesting things that you want to make sure that when you're having a phone screen or an initial interview, that you're conveying or you're ready to talk about. Your ability to work remotely, your ability to use the interviewing webinar video technology, how flexible and adaptable you are, because this is really, the hiring process has been hard on recruiters, and so you want to show that you're flexible and adaptable. So if they call at the last minute or email you at the last minute, say, I'm so sorry, we have to move our appointment, that's okay. Let them know that's okay, and that you're flexible and that you can make accommodations for them. And you want to also reveal how your work from home experience has worked for you. Like if you, we're all struggling with it a little bit, but why has it been good for you? What new habits have you learned? What new technology have you learned since you've been working from home? Talk about your work from home job search experience, whatever that's been, in a positive light. And you can absolutely say, I'm really looking forward to the point where we can all be back in the office. We're all looking forward to that. So those are, And then be patient is the last thing that Jeff says in his article, because this is going to take longer than you want. And there's nothing that we can do to speed that up, as sad as that is. The other article that I shared was about resumes, and I don't write about resumes because I don't want you obsessing about resumes, but this was more about why job recruiters are taking the time to read every resume right now at this point in time. This article was written in October, but the logic still holds. One of the things that this article points out, and I want you to go read it, I'm just going to talk about one little part of it that I want, because I want to help set your expectation, is that more and more companies, because they don't want to, and this is what the article says, more and more recruiters don't want to weed out people with their applicant tracking system. They want their experience to be more personal, but they can't talk to 250 people. And so they want to offer people, the right people who are qualified, the opportunity to have a conversation. So in order for you to get from the application phase to the phase where you're having a conversation with somebody, they've got to do some sort of pre-screening. They do not have the bandwidth to have 250 conversations. That's not humanly possible. You can't have 250 conversations and get everything else you need to do done. So what these recruiters are doing is they are giving, and many of them are sending assessments, online tests, to help check the skill level of the people that are applying for the job. If the person takes the time and does well on the assessment, that weeds out a whole bunch of other people they don't have to talk with. So the people they then are chiseled down, that they're having conversations with, are the people that at least have sort of a baseline set of skills based on the assessment. All right. So that's important to know. If you are faced with the prospect of taking an assessment right up front without talking to somebody, understand why. These recruiters are trying to get more people, to make a bigger funnel at the top to get down to the final 5 or whatever. And in order to do that, they've got to have some criteria, some way of cutting through the people that do, or that or haven't researched the company, or who aren't qualified. You have to know that lots of people who apply for jobs are not in any way, shape, or form qualified. You're just like a little not qualified. There are other people who are way not qualified, and recruiters can't waste their time. You have to understand that. And I hope that when you're asked to do an assessment without having a conversation first, that you don't get all mad and angry about that. That that's just one way that these recruiters are trying to get through the stuff, the huge number of applicants. They're not going to rely just on your resume, right? Which is a good thing, because I know, and you know, that your resume is a hard thing to write. They're going to let your skill assessment be the vehicle that will filter people in and out. The next article isn't an article at all. It was a conversation that Andrew Seaman of LinkedIn had with Amanda Augustine. And Amanda Augustine is a professional resume writer with Top Resume, and she talked a lot about how applicant tracking systems work, and she gave tips and advice. So if you know nothing about applicant tracking systems, you better go listen to what Amanda Augustine has to say. Everybody today should have a bit of an understanding of how this technology works to weed out candidates, and how it you know, how you can structure your resume to make the information easier for the applicant tracking system to read. It would break my heart if the reason that your resume wasn't getting you in front of a recruiter was because they couldn't find your contact information, or it was because the information you put on your resume was in a non-conventional format and the applicant tracking system couldn't read it, which meant there was nothing in the file. So please, please, please take a second. It's probably 45 minutes to an hour to watch Amanda Augustine on Andrew Seaman's show, Get Hired. For those that are looking for some more advanced help, or those that have their own business, like a resume writing or career coaching business, this article, How to Improve Your Personal SEO, 5 Tips for Personal Branding, was really good. Very technical, so it's not for somebody who's brand new to the idea of personal SEO. It was very well written. If you want to skim it and get an understanding of what it's all about, it's great. But if you're a business owner, and we're all technically have a business of one, we're thinking about ourselves as a business of one, and we're promoting ourselves through personal SEO. This was a really insightful article. And I've actually written articles myself about personal SEO, and I learned a few things reading this. So that was great. Okay, so let me go back and look at some of the questions here. Oh, that's a good story. So Colleen, let me show, looking for ideas on how to document this gap in my resume and LinkedIn. I've been unemployed since March 2020, definitely been out professional development from reading webinars, no course, but seems silly to list every web. No, don't, right? So that's a great question, Colleen. And if you read any of these articles that we're seeing now, one of the things that recruiters are saying is they understand that if you haven't worked since March of 2020, that gap is a gap because of COVID. Like there were a lot of people who got laid off there. So they're not going to judge you necessarily harshly, but you do on your resume, well, your LinkedIn profile is a whole nother strategy, but I would list the courses that are most relevant to the work that you're going to be doing. So if you're looking for nonprofit management stuff, then yeah. I would list the one, you could batch them, sure. But I would definitely be selective about what you choose to include, something that is universally understood, or a webinar or a skill or training that would show expertise in a certain area. You could even just have a line saying attended over 10 webinars related to this industry and not even list them all. I think that what it's really going to come down to is, there are probably going to be a handful that you're going to want to talk about during the interview because you really learned something from them, and that's really the value. As far as gap filling goes, the resume, LinkedIn profile are not critical because everybody knows there's going to be a gap, and it is hard to explain what you did during that time frame in a way that is meaningful. So just be ready to talk about it when you have a phone screen. I don't think that you have to list them all. I think that would be overwhelming, and I don't think that would paint a very clear picture. So you really think about, what message do I want to send? What skills did I develop, rather than how did I fill my time? So I hope that sort of helps. No, please don't use a hybrid or functional resume, Colleen. Here, let me just, for anybody that is thinking about using a hybrid or functional resume, no. Do not. I know you want to try, we hear people talking about it, but when I talk to recruiters, they do not want to see a hybrid. They do not want to see a functional. Stick with the standard chronological. Please, please, please. If that means that your first job or your most recent job is just a little tiny line, that's fine. But right now, everybody who is looking for work who is unemployed, everybody knows that it's been due to COVID. You don't need to explain that. You don't need to worry about that. So, but please do not use a combo. If there are three, so I'm reading now, I'm expanding my job search within the industry, but not the same exact position as my last three positions. That's a whole nother, you're gonna have a different resume for each job. So if you need to have a job title that is hyphenated, so it's, part of your job was project management, another part of your job was customer service, and another part of your job was sales support, put all of that in the job title, right? And then that would cover all three bases when you expand. That's one way of doing it. Yeah, I'm glad Amanda said that they're not a good thing to use. It's absolutely true, so I can't reinforce that enough. So does that help you, Colleen? Colleen, so here's where my heart bleeds. Like, there are people like you that have these really important sort of strategic questions that you need someone to help you answer. So I hope you have somebody in your pool of resources, somebody that you know that you can have that one-on-one conversation with, that can give you the advice that you need to be really more strategic in how you lay out your resume, and you really think about presenting yourself. But you really are going to have a different resume for each one of those different roles, and so you can sort of do a better job in fine-tuning each one, not just one resume that you send out to three totally different industries or occupations. So one of the things I think I reshared after updating it was the fine line between being persistent and being a stalker. You can never follow up too much. Well, you can, and that's when you become a stalker. But if you're following up every 2 weeks systematically, because you haven't heard back, in other words, you send an email and nobody responds, keep following up. You might mix it between a phone call follow up with 1 week, and then 2 weeks later follow up with email, and then 2 weeks later follow up with phone, and then 2 weeks later follow up with email. Alternate back and forth, because you don't know what the preferred mechanism for communication is of the person you're trying to follow up with. So mix it up. Maybe they don't like email, maybe they prefer voicemail. So switch it up. But if you're following up every 2 weeks, it shows you are interested. And I know that's a lot of work to do, but just put that on your list of activities to do once a week, and you'll be fine with that. It does show a level of interest. And at the end of the day, if they were on the fence about you as a candidate, the fact that you've been following up persistently shows a deeper level of interest in that person that never followed up at all. So we're getting close to the end of our time here. Oh, good. I'm glad you're connected with people at Rochester Works, Colleen. Definitely a great resource. They're very helpful and they really care. There are some things that I want to make sure you know about that are coming up and free. Let me share this in the comments. Tomorrow is Tuesday, and at 1 o'clock Eastern time, I am going to be having a conversation with Kenneth Lang, who's one of this year's LinkedIn top voices for job search and careers. And I think I'm talking about visual supplements to your resume. We'll see if that's what I actually talk about. But that's tomorrow at 1 o'clock. And I shared in the comments, that's the link to register. So I want you have to register for that. And that's how you would go about doing that. The other thing that I have going on tomorrow, and I don't have a link for that handy, but tomorrow at 2 o'clock, I'm doing the last in my series for the Macedon webinar, the Macedon Public Library, a webinar on how to ace your video interview. And so that is tomorrow at 2 o'clock. And if you get my newsletter, then it's definitely in there. I don't have the link with me right now. So, but I'm sure you can find it. If you can't find it, go to the Macedon Public Library in Macedon, New York, and go to their website and register there. It's free. So that is what I've got coming up this week. I've been really active and worried about the millions of people who are in the hospitality industry that don't have jobs right now and are on the verge of being evicted, and we're not doing enough for them. So I'm trying to come up with different ways that we can bring the companies that have jobs to fill and people that are looking for jobs in the hospitality, bring those together. So if you have any thoughts or ideas on that, thinking like drive-through career fairs or hiring events. Part of the problem, as I've been having conversations with people online, is that the hiring process is taking too long. There are too many filters. The hiring process is broken. You cannot ask somebody who's making minimum wage to go online and fill out an online application and go through that hiring process like anybody else. That's not fair. It's not right. It takes too long to teach them what they need to know to be successful for the kind of work they're looking for. And we don't have time for that. We need to find better ways to get people matched up with jobs that can start immediately. So if you have any thoughts on that, let me know. Hey, it's going to be a great week. I'm optimistic about some of the stuff that's happening. And I hope you are too. Let's stay positive. There is help and hope out there. There are a lot of resources, and it's going to happen. It's just a matter of when, and making that happen for you takes some positive outlook, perseverance, a dose of positive thinking will do you well. So get out there, have a great week, and I'll see you all soon. Thank you all for being here this week. Be good.